one. This is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council's One Mic Stand, also with Tech Vibe Radio, and we're nearing number 50 when it comes to our One Mic Stand interviews. I had no idea we're gonna do 50 of these suckers, 7-8 weeks ago when we said, hey, let's just start doing a little more storytelling. And the more we started telling stories, the more we liked it, and the more we're just coming across some of our really kick butt members. One of those is Covail. And these guys are out of Columbus, which I think is just so rad because I think Columbus is a happening town. And I have not been there yet, but I'm hearing great things about it. And I get excited when folks from Columbus are hanging out with folks from Pittsburgh, especially when it is Ben Blanquera from Covail. Ben, thanks for hanging out with us today and being part of the One Mic Stand.
Well, hey, Pittsburgh. Thanks for letting us into your city. And Jonathan, thanks for having us on the show.
Of course.
We're thrilled. We are so excited about being part of the Pittsburgh sort of community, and we thrive in the environment of collaboration.
Yeah,
and we
totally.
believe that at the end of the day, you've got to make the region stronger if you want to be strong as a company. And so we come into Pittsburgh with that kind of attitude. Mm-hmm. And our hope is that we can add some value to the local ecosystem here, and that we can learn. I mean, this is all about sort of learning and getting better together.
Yeah.
And that when Columbus and Pittsburgh, we're like suburbs. Heck, the Hyperloop shows up, we are going to be suburbs.
Yeah, I want that Hyperloop. That way we can grab a beer together, right?
Yeah, actually, I had to plug the Hyperloop, right? So I'm starting to look at real estate in Pittsburgh, right?
Are you really? Okay. Well, I'm starting to look at real estate in Columbus, so there.
All right, there you go.
No, I think that's cool. I'm looking forward to the Hyperloops. That way we can just have a beer together in the course of like 9 minutes, right? Nothing to it.
Yeah.
Super cool. So first off, give us a little bit about the background of Covail and what you guys are up to. You guys have a pretty cool service offering. Working on, you help companies solve some pretty tough problems at the end of the day. It's really what I think it comes down to. And you got a great philosophy behind it and a great action plan. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about that. At the end of the day, what we believe is that every enterprise we're working with is undergoing some kind of digital transformation.
Oh yeah.
And when you consider that, guess what? You're doing that because you need new products, new services. Your marketplace is getting disrupted. So what we're seeing with the enterprises that we work with, and in a minute I'll tell you a little bit about history.
Yeah.
Is that everyone is got this sort of digital transformation impaired. Hey, but here's the challenge. That stuff costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Last
time I checked, those consultants aren't.
Last time I checked, you do this thing called digital transformation, and you're not talking, 7 figures. You're talking 8 figures, maybe 9 figures by the time
we'll get a lawyer while you're at it too, right?
So, yeah. And so what we found was, our focus is really around what we call digital optimization. How do we make your digital operations efficient using automation, AI, ML, and secure? That's sort of the
sounds like two solid things to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, because if we can focus on that, then that frees up money to invest in customer-facing things and new product things and right. Things like that. And so what we found is that where we added the most value is in that space, what we call digital optimization. By putting in what we call intelligent operations that leverages automation, AI, ML in such a way that is trustworthy, right? At the end of the day, the currency of why you would be comfortable with someone in digital is you trust it. You trust that it's safe from a cyber perspective. You trust that those automation and algorithms and things are doing all the things you want them to do in a way that's unbiased in those kind of things. And so that's a sweet spot. Let me tell you how I got here, how we got here.
How did you get it? Because that was gonna be my next question. So you must be really
well. I've got to tee up a softball once in a while, right?
Very cool, man.
So what happened was around 7 years ago, 7 companies in Columbus had this idea, had this thought that says, as part of our portfolio of getting better, faster, and innovating, what happens if we can create a operation mechanism that allows us to collaborate in a couple key areas that are meaningful to us, that if you look at all the Gartner Magic Quadrant and things like that, where you can't find people and you go, oh my God, I got to get prepared for this. Well, those 2 areas were around the notion of AI, machine learning, all that, as well as cyber. And so based on that basic premise that if companies collaborate, that they can get better faster in key areas that they're all facing. That was the basic premise. Well, and so we had companies, so these are all Fortune 500 companies,
right?
Companies, from seven sectors, companies like Cardinal, Battelle, Nationwide, L Brands, Ohio Health, Huntington, and AP. So these are fairly large enterprises that, guess what? They spend a lot, they invest a ton of money in these areas. But, what they realized, what they said is, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe what we need to do is create a mechanism for us to have a broader view of how to get things done. Perhaps,
absolutely.
Right, and perhaps maybe it might be good to have an operation mechanism that can move fast, right? Sometimes a small team that's highly technical, highly cross-functional can move a heck of a lot faster than a lot of people on a lot of teams.
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
That's some smart thinking, man. Because I wish I could see more of that happening in Pittsburgh and around the world in general. I think that's a fairly unique thing.
Yeah, we think so. I mean, we did the research. I mean, when you look at it, what we ended up doing was we founded a company, and at that point it was called Columbus Collaboratory. So 7 companies put in somewhere around $40 million.
I like the name Covail much better than that.
Yeah, so do I. I like Covail.
It's easier to say. It rolls off the tongue a little. I say Covail.
Yeah, so we're Covail. We're not that formerly known as.
Exactly.
So Covail. So think of us as a tech startup, because we're every bit a tech startup. We have both services and products focused in the AI automation and cyber world. That, by the way, just happens to have some very large organizations that have very deep, complex problems on our board, and that we have, here's something unique. We had an 8-way MSA across all the entities. Why does that matter? Because when you think about the notion of innovation, a couple things slow it down.
Okay.
The ability to contract quickly from the time someone has that idea, to the time you actually can get someone on it. Guess what? Contracts happen, legalese happens, all sorts. So by the time someone says, "Hey, you've lost that inspiration," right? And so a lot of this stuff is, how do you swing faster, right? Think of it as clock speed, right? We got to accelerate the clock speed of corporate America, right? Because unless you accelerate that clock speed, guess what? You've got a gremlin engine and you're playing, an Indy car race. Right? That's kind of like, right? It's all about clock speed, right? Are you measuring your cycles for, trying something in months? Or are you measuring it in weeks, in days, right? I mean, that's a whole different clock speed. Guess what?
Faster the better in this day and age. I mean, that's what it is, right? Who can get through? Absolutely.
Think about, who you're competing against. Think about the clock speed globally.
Yeah.
They could move pretty fast. So time is the currency of competition, right? Unless you can actually do things faster. So what does that mean? So if we could take the barriers out around trying things, because remember, innovation is all about trying things you didn't know before to see what sticks and what doesn't work, right? That's how you start operationalizing. It's not thinking about it. It's doing something.
Yeah, exactly. I can think about stuff all day long until I'm actually doing it. It doesn't matter.
You do something, right? And you can talk all this abstract stuff about, hey, what about this MFA system versus this AI? And you're like, oh, okay, have you actually done anything with it?
It's like, man, I got some great ideas here.
right. I mean, like, oh my God, really? So our theory was, let's create a mechanism that allows us to operationalize quickly. So this MSA allowed us to we had one contract vehicle, so we could get to working on something fast.
Yeah, you're thinking things efficient that way. I love it, man.
As well as when we started out, we have this notion of the IP associated with learning, because once again, what's a famous quote with Edison? Like, he did the light bulb, but he had 999 other times that didn't work.
Exactly.
Guess what? To actually learn to do something that works, you have to iterate in things that don't work.
Yeah.
And so part of it is can you share and leverage the learnings of the IP along the way? So we had a mechanism that allows to share IP.
Nice.
Along the way. So guess what?
I feel like you really thought this thing through, man.
I'm just making this up.
There is no messing around.
So think about this, right? You think about a lot of tech startups. They start out with an idea and they try to sell it. We start out with, this is a problem, solve it fast.
See, and that's the way you got to do it, man. You see the problem and you solve it, because that's where they're
solve it fast. And then if you see patterns of it happening over and over again, okay, then you can maybe harden it a little bit. Maybe you can add a little bit more. But this notion of MVP, like what's the MVP that solves a problem the fastest you can learn from it? That's how we live it, breathe, and die.
So
right?
Cool, man. Yeah.
So you fast forward, you're about 6 years in now, right?
Right.
And so we've been, we focused the first several years on our initial investor companies to do the work of, because they believe me, these companies, you know, there's plenty of work to be done in these companies. And then about 2 years ago, we said, we've always had this premise of being a standalone self-supporting company, which means, you know, in sort of startup speak, you've got your income as more than your expense, and
Exactly.
not drawing down the capital, right? I mean, that's just
right.
You've got lift-off velocity. And so lift-off velocity means that at some point someone is paying you because they find value in what you do, right? That's
the magic of the world right there.
Magic, free market, right? And so we spent the first couple of years building out and testing the things we do. So we felt pretty good that they solved problems. And then what we did was said, you know what, let's test it, right? There's nothing like, I love that Mike Tyson sort of quote, you know, everyone's got a plan to get hit in the face. Well, the market hits you in the face if you're actually trying to sell something that matters, right?
Right. Oh,
right? I mean, so,
that's awesome.
You might as well just lean into that punch so you can learn fast.
Exactly right.
And so along the way, we've been able to, we have about, 17, 18 other enterprise customers, about 25 sort of enterprise customers, but we've been really diligent about making sure that we are what we do matters. And so we've tried not to expand too quickly. We've tried to just make sure, you know,
build it solid, put a foundation to it, right?
Yeah, let's build a solid foundation, because, you know, because we're not in this to create the next next $1 billion unicorn. We're in this because we want to solve real problems, and in our investors, they care about solving enterprise problems. That's what they care about. We're not a B2C, we're a B2B enterprise grade company. And when you think about that, you know, one of the things we learned was in a lot of enterprises, when you think about someone's got an idea, right? Then someone does a pilot, says, yay, let's do it. It makes sense. Then there's an implementation. What we found was in many cases, and we've dealt with just about, you know, all the different sort of technology and service providers, that the technical component of things, while important, is not sufficient to solve a problem.
Right. That's interesting. Right. Yeah. There's the other pieces you need, right?
The first piece is, are you asking the right questions? Are you working on something that's really relevant? What we find is that because the technology curve is moving so quickly, a lot of folks don't even know what to ask. They don't even know what's possible. I mean,
it's true. That's so true. If you think about it that way, because it is changing so quickly. So
they don't know.
Start right, exactly.
Or they get caught up in hype, and they don't actually know what they're asking for. So what we find is that, you know, because we've had our false starts just like everyone else, right? I mean, there are times you're working on something and go, why are we doing this? So what we've learned is, like, you know, we don't want to waste any time. We'd rather tell you, we don't think you're actually solving a problem. If you want someone just to work on this for the sake of working on this, that's probably not us.
It's not really a problem anymore.
I mean, you can give me a really big PO, but that's probably not what we want to do, because what happens is we don't have a long-term relationship, because when someone says, I just spent money on this, what did it get me? You can't answer that question. We don't want that kind of job. We don't want to do that. So what we do is we find out, and our head of analytics is this guy. He says, look, the middle part's easy. It's a soft, squishy end of what to do. And then the implementation, right? The actual optimization, like plumbing all this stuff, the people, the change management, the technology. Because at this point, when you start implementing a lot of these solutions, you're crossing lots of boundaries in an organization, right? And what you find is that the more handoffs you have, like, okay, I got to talk to this person, then I got to talk to this lady to put it in. Guess what? All of a sudden, you got the call game, you know, where you go around a circle, and all of a sudden, by the time it comes back to you, it's not what you wanted.
Something totally different, and it slowed things down considerably, right?
So another, you know, our leaders are pretty smart. They said, look, we want you to be as self-sufficient as possible. We want you to be, you don't need this we want you to be full stack engineers and cyber people and AI people. We know that's a tall order, right? But, right, much like, CMU's in your backyard, we got one of the biggest universities in the country. We got some really smart people hanging out here.
God
right?
bless universities, man. That's why we
God
love
bless
hanging out with
universities,
those folks.
right?
Absolutely.
And so by design, when we hired our staff, right, it was all about, let's get multifunction, sort of like Swiss Army knives that are solid engineers and data scientists and cyber engineers, so that a very small group can run really fast.
Yeah.
Right. They know hands-on keyboard. They can, all our team leads are very much, they lead all the user groups in the region here. They're very well thought leaders, because we want our folks to be beyond a shadow of a doubt, to have the technical chops to actually do something.
Very cool.
Right. Not just be okay.
I'm assuming this has to be a really cool opportunity for them, because they're getting to work in an environment that really hasn't been created before. Like, this seems like something like they would want to take their smarts and skills and say, yeah, I want to be part of this team, right?
Well, that's exactly it, because of the range of the work we do with the enterprises. We have the kind of problems we have are some of the toughest problems around, and so they love being in a scenario where they're working on the toughest problems. And there's a pretty big distance, and I think I would imagine your readers and viewers would say this. There are many cases where one person is as good as 10, because that person is that good.
Exactly.
Right?
They're that good. Exactly.
They're that good, right? And we're lucky that we're able to attract and recruit some of these folks, and they stick around.
That's cool, man.
They stick around because of the work, and because they stick around because of the nature of the sort of like, in many cases, people leave because they're not part of a high-powered team.
Yeah.
Right? If you're the smartest person around, you're always pulling the boat. It gets tiring.
Yeah,
right?
You want to be part of the other people that are pulling that boat just as strong as
pulling
you.
the boat and challenging you, right?
Yeah, actually making you up your game every day.
Make up the game, right? You want to be in that. And so we're pretty thrilled that we're able to.
It's so cool. That's why I was so impressed as I learned about what you guys were up to, and that's why I was doubly pumped that you guys joined up with the Tech Council, because we want to learn more about this and see how we can be additive to it, and how we could, I think this model could be scaled in like every region. It seems like, I think you guys should be licensed.
I'd love to see it.
We need a Covail PGH or something like that. And the idea of being able to take this concept and share it with our members, get them thinking about the way you're thinking, I think is powerful. And once again, as we start working together, wow, really, really big stuff can start happening. Not that we're not doing cool collective big stuff on our own, but man, I think we bring your folks and our folks and Cleveland's folks and West Virginia's folks, and all of a sudden it's like, man, we become this like super region, right, where we're just kicking some butt.
Well, you think about that. You look at sort of the Boston corridor, right, or California. Those are super regions. It isn't a city. Yeah, it is a region, right? We sometimes forget that, right? It's a region, and so I think we have a huge amount of opportunity to really figure out how to work together. And I think, we have such a great ecosystem. You have the university is sort of core intellectual, right? And talent coming from that. We have industry, and we have a broad base of industry that is magical.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
That means you have use cases. We have problems to be solved.
You can actually plug this in and show how it works.
Right.
Show results.
Yeah, and then, there's such a ton of sort of research that says at the intersection of automation and AI, the Midwest wins. Right? Absolutely. Because we have a culture of making and building things. Exactly. That's what we do.
I always say it's our secret sauce to a huge degree. It is one of those key pieces where it's like, man, that's what sets us apart. And how do we keep leveraging that and making it?
And how do we embrace it, right? So for us, right, when we think about Covail, we're embracing, look, we could make things great, fast, efficient, so then we can use that money and focus it on things that have to do with new products for our customers, right? Let's just think about that. Let's embrace that. But you know what? Let us leverage all the new technology to have to do with AI automation. And by the way, guess what? The soft underbelly of all this cyber stuff is this notion of sort of risk and cyber attack and things like. We have to create a trusted digital environment, right? I remember when I was manufacturing, 30 years ago, there's a thing called Gemba, right? Which is, if you want to see what's happening, you take a Gemba walk, which is walk to the floor so you can see it. Right. The challenge is when you're talking about a digital world, you can't see it.
Can't see it. No, so you got to trust
it. So how do we create trust within
cybersecurity, man? I mean,
how do we do that?
Is the underpinnings of all that. So you can do those two areas set. It becomes the world's yours. You got this platform, you got the security, you got people to test it on, for lack of a better term, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a second.
I mean, like, what they said that because 60% of the GDP of the United States is within a couple hours, is within a day drive of Ohio. So by proxy, Pittsburgh is in the same scenario.
Same way,
right?
It's like within 350 miles. Yeah, like all the major customers of the country are there, ready to go. Like,
right. Right. So we have this incredible opportunity because we're where the customers are. So, I think as we think about digital optimization, this notion that customer intimacy, we can actually get feedback fast because we're there. That's pretty powerful stuff.
All the way around. So how do we start working together more? I mean, I want to start with a nice t-shirt swap and exchange. I got my Pittsburgh Tech Council shirt on right now. So if you have any Covail duds, like send them our way and vice versa. Because we want to be co-branding ourselves.
You're going to get a kit.
Oh, I want a whole kit.
We're going to get like in soccer. Like when you play soccer, you buy a kit, right? You got to get socks, you got to get the jerseys. I mean, you got to have a full-on kit, right?
I want a Covail kit because I think what you guys are doing is completely awesome. I cannot wait for us to start building more bridges together and connecting our great minds and visiting each other's regions a little bit more and figuring out ways that we can solve some of these problems together.
Well, I mean, like we're in. I mean, we start out. What are some things we can help solve? I mean, what I'd love to do is we're happy to have sort of sessions. Say, here's some things we see.
Yeah,
here's some things we've done. Here's some examples. Just because what I find is a lot of innovation in many cases is inspiration. You got to inspire and you got to educate if you want to innovate, right? And we think that if maybe here's what we could do.
Okay.
We could do a home and away, sort of like innovation series. We could decide to do that today. Look,
I'm thinking about it. Absolutely.
We could do a home and away. You host it 1 month, and you host Pittsburgh, and I'll get folks from Columbus.
Totally, man.
And I'll do the same thing, right?
Right.
We could do something that has to do with, we could 2 or 3, startups, right? They could do a 5-minute pitch, and then we could have, corporate innovation.
And best of all, we can use Zoom for it because we have to use Zoom right now because we're not allowed to talk to each other too close. But I would love it in the further down the line for us to actually like go to Columbus and Columbus comes up to Pittsburgh just to see the area and stuff. But even in the meantime, just getting like a Zoom presentation together and you get your folks up to listen to our folks and vice versa and just start building those connections and getting faces to be known and then bring it together.
I think we got a series going on. I think we could have a Zoom and we could just interview, right, and just have some fun. Totally. Like let's create the super region here, right?
Let's go, man. I'm 100%. And this is why I love hanging out with you, Ben. You got more energy than I do, and you know how to get stuff done. I just think it's awesome. And here's to Covail doing great stuff.
Oh, we love. I mean, we can't wait to become a contributing member of the Pittsburgh Tech Council family.
Very much so. No, we're glad to welcome you to the family, and like I said, we're going to try to do some really great stuff together. And let's just make it happen. Simple as that. Ben, thanks for hanging out with us today on the One Mic Stand. You have me all pumped up. We're going to talk offline because I have some other ideas I want to talk to you about as well.
Well, we got to do that. I got to call my kit guys. I got to get you some gear.
Yeah, call your kit guys. I only have t-shirts right now. Now I feel like a loser, but I wanted a full kit. I love the
Oh, yeah. We'll put your name in the back like a jersey.
Right.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's cool. All right, Ben. Thanks again for hanging out in the One Mic Stand.
Oh, thanks, John. Thank you. I really appreciate you having us on here.